All right, let's welcome on our next guest here on the Center Ring Esports podcast. He is been a focus of on our show for quite some time. If you follow Valorant and our podcast, formerly of Moon Raccoons, now newly signed with Evil Geniuses. Please welcome to the show, Temperature. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Have VCT tomorrow, but overall doing pretty well. Thank you for having me on.
No, yeah, obviously, as you said, you have a big day tomorrow, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time tonight to come on the show, talk some Valorant, talk some good stuff. How's the team kind of meshing together, as you'd say? It's been a little over a month.
I would say we're meshing together well. Everyone has a very good attitude towards the learning process because some people do tend to get very frustrated with it and will get stuck on like, oh, we're not doing this right now. Instead, we're like, okay, we're not doing this right. How do we fix it? What can we do for it? And then we move forward with it. So it's been very well.
And I know obviously the goal coming from Moon Raccoons was probably to try and take that roster and get onto a team together because you guys had done so well at the Renegades NSG Invitational. Y'all really shined in that. But obviously the main goal is to get onto an org and further your career. And so just want to know a little bit like how nerve-wracking was that process? How many hours were you sweating it out, and kind of how was that whole thing for you?
I would say we would spend about like 6 to 7 hours a day on practice. So I would do that. I'd DM a little bit outside of that. I'd probably play about 8 hours a day on days during the Moon Raccoons time in order to try to show everyone that we deserve to be signed as players or as a team, which was the preferred route at the time. However, obviously that did not happen. As you see, Reba's on Ambox, Profi's on SSG, Alex and I are now on EG. So sadly, it didn't work out that way, but hopefully, the only thing I can wish for now is that Fiend gets signed soon. So
We had Raptors coach of Moon Raccoons on the show maybe a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and as Anuj mentioned, he even told us kind of the hopes was the band stick together. I guess behind the scenes, how close was that? I mean, was that ever a possibility, or were you guys just never really the right org approaching you?
possibility, I would say there's definitely were possibilities, but you'd have to sacrifice on certain minimums that you would have asked for because we said this to ourselves, we don't want to be paid less than minimum wage a month.
Yeah, that's
That was
probably a
Yeah,
good
something
thing.
that's
that was
fair.
something we
That's
said.
fair.
So we could have stuck together, gone with an org. I won't say who, and it could have happened, but the timing that happened wasn't the right timing for it to happen because we had higher expectations. And then when those got knocked down a peg, it was kind of a little too late.
Right.
So
We even said on the show too, just from a goofy timing in general, because you guys performed so well on First Strike, and then it was like the holiday break happened, and then it was almost like, oh, that I can't imagine a whole lot of teams are calling you in the middle of Christmas and just the break in general, just kind of bad time. Obviously, things worked out for you guys individually, but just from a team's perspective, poor timing just in life.
yeah, it was definitely very poor timing because we'd hear, oh yeah, it's New Year's, people are out on vacation, all these different types of things, and it's like, okay, well, we just gotta wait till the New Year, and then New Year came, and like tournaments would start again, and we had, I would say, lackluster results because Profi went to SSG. We had to go pick up a new player. We had to play with them. We wouldn't have a crazy amount of time with them either. So we just weren't able to show people we were worth it. And it just happened at the worst time for all of that.
And now let's talk about your new team here with EG. How did this roster come together? Obviously, unusual circumstances, right? It's very rare that you see a roster of mixed gender, right? Like you just don't see that too often. I mean, I can't myself recall another time where you see a mixed gender roster kind of competing at the highest level, and you guys are doing that. And so I want to know how did this roster come together? Where was input coming from, and how did this band get together here?
So thankfully, I've actually heard the answer recently, so I can say it. For EG specifically, they wanted to get into the scene, but they didn't want to just do it like, oh, we'll just get a best team, like they can compete, whatever. They wanted to be unique. They wanted to do something that would actually leave a mark on the entire scene as a whole and maybe change esports itself. So that kind of came down to the mixed roster thing, and the philosophy behind it is we always have two different we split genders up between it, and that doesn't warrant for merit to be the real reason someone gets picked on a team, regardless of gender or any of that. So, because Valorant's such a new scene, it enables such a plan to be put in place, and the hope is to make it more of a norm for people just to pick people up because they are good, not because they're a guy or they're a girl or any gender out there, just to give them an equal standing because of their skill rather than anything else.
Is this your first time on a mixed roster?
Um, I had a very short stint with actually Katie in Counter Strike. It was like 1 or 2 matches, but yeah, for first full time roster.
Was there, and I know this is like a tough question to even probably like answer without it sounding weird, but was there any hesitation in joining a mixed roster in the sense of something that hasn't been done before? For the men's side, it's kind of always been like it is in traditional sports, like top tier, right? And then you have the female side who is a growing scene and trying to compete at that same level and get to the same prize pools and all the stuff that they've been trying to accomplish over the years. But so I can see the understanding from a female trying to get onto a men's team, right? Like it's just more appealing in that sense versus vice versa. So as a male going into that situation, was there any sort of initial hesitation or worry going into that type of situation?
I'll say for me personally, not really. There was actually a conversation we had with the performance coach Amin Raccoons Curry, where he said basically the only reason females are even behind in competing is because they do get segregated out into their own leagues. So they never had to strive to be the best, period. They had to be the best within their own league. So they were actually, in my opinion, limited by such leagues instead of actually promoting their own growth as people. So to me personally, seeing this, I'm like, this can actually promote them to grow even stronger, be even better, and become some of the best players in the world that they have the potential to be. You can look at Cloud9 White, and they're, in all honesty, kicking ass in the scene right now. And I think because it's everything's just an open qualifier, it actually
Yeah.
strives them to be better. They no longer have that one constraint that is subconscious.
Yeah, you
So
you hope one day with Cloud White, if there's ever an opening with Cloud 9 Blue again, maybe they look at their, White as more as a farm team rather than just a secondary. Oh, look, guys, we have a female team. We'll check off this box, and it's kind of neat and things like that. That's one thing that when EG kind of announced their roster, kind of put a highlight on all those other all female rosters that are signed with orgs that also have all male rosters, and you're like, well, what message here are we trying to say?
yeah, 100%. I want it to be a very, I'll say, inclusive, so everyone can have their own chance just because they're good and fully merit based. Because that's something I've actually grew up a lot throughout my life. Is merit matters more than anything else. It doesn't matter who the hell you are, what the hell you did before. It's what you're doing now. Are you being a good person? Are you striving to be the best? Are you putting the work in to be the best? So from that front, in all honesty, like this type of project aligned with a lot of my like life ideals of just trying to be the best and advocating for just taking whoever the best is.
For us, it was cool to see Potter make the transition because obviously we've seen her on the desk for a long time now in Counter Strike, and obviously sad to see her leave the talent side. But she's obviously competed in the past in CS and now made the move over to Valorant. How has it been getting to play with her? Obviously, she's coming from a high profile position where people know her coming in. How has it been getting a chance to play with her?
I'll say she is integral in keeping people moving forward and always looking at it like this is practice. We are doing this for practice. I don't give any regard to the score of the scrim. We're not looking like, oh, we won 13-11. Woohoo, we did amazing. It is, oh, we lost 16-8. That could happen in a scrim, but we learned X, Y, and Z. We can work on this and become an even better team. So she's been very motivational on that front and also keeping everyone moving forward.
So you're with Moon Raccoons, which was an orgless team, right? For those who might not know, it was just kind of your guys' own thing going on. You sign with EG. Now I'm always curious because obviously we know being a professional gamer is fun and all, but the real reason you're doing it is for free merch. How soon after you sign the contract, like, do you like start that initial, like, do you start the conversation? Like, so I'm a size, I'm a medium, right-handed mouse. Like, I kind of want a 10 keyless keyboard. When does that start?
Immediately. I'm not even kidding. EG has been above and beyond for this. They've been giving us so much stuff. Like, I'll say this for Alex, his computer was bad mojo. Like, it had bugs everywhere. Like, it was terrible. EG actually sent all of us computers. They bought computers that has an i9 and a 3070 in it in order for us to do more. For the jerseys, they asked, oh yeah, what size you are. I'm like driving back from Florida and I'm like messaging with them, and I hadn't even gotten the contract in my hands to sign yet. And it's like we already had a conversation to confirm that we're going to do it, and they're asking all these questions. They're going out of their way to ask us first rather than us having to ask them. So they've been amazing on it, and like I said, immediately.
What's the best thing about being obviously, on an org like EG? EG is such a reputable org. They've been around forever in esports. What is kind of the best thing about being signed to EG?
I'll say their support system and the amount they show they care, because we may have not met everyone within the org, and there was a conversation during like our first day of like actual matches for the first VCT, and like their group chat was going crazy talking about it. Apparently we got to see some snippets, and in all honesty, from something Profi kind of told us, is like sometimes with the bigger orders it becomes more corporate rather than kind of like home, like homey and cozy. And EG has been extremely homey and always kind of like being there for you. And it's open communication. Like you can message a general manager, you can message anyone. Because we met with Nicole like 2 days after we signed.
That's awesome.
So we've had a lot of time to like talk with people who you would expect you wouldn't get to meet without, like, oh yeah, can I get a meeting with this person? It's like we just had a meeting with the director of esports. Actually, sometimes will just sit in and talk with us, stuff like that. So it's been
Now,
great.
for EG, I want to know like what kind of expectations are being set for this lineup, right? Obviously, going to be a work in progress, right? Getting just a new roster together, that's always a challenge in itself. Obviously, we discussed some of the other challenges. I say challenges, but things that you have to deal with that you probably normally don't, right? There's a lot more on the outside, probably coming your way than just a normal signing of a team. So, what kind of expectations are being set from you from the org standpoint? As a player, you always know you want to be the best, want to be number one. But what kind of expectations are the orgs putting on you guys to, performance wise and
Performance wise, they have a goal in mind of like what general placing they want us within 6 months. So we're working towards that. As for other expectations, just getting out there, getting our names out there, not like just sitting idly and never doing anything aside from just playing. So I'll just put a little bit more for like me personally. Since beginning of this month, I've played actually 10 hours a day of Valorant every single day, no break, no nothing, because I love the game personally, and I want to show them that we can do this, and I'm ready and am putting in the work, and I'm not just saying I can and I will. It's more of an I am statement.
yeah.
And as you mentioned then before we started recording, as far as getting out there, next month you are doing a charity stream, correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be doing a charity stream, I believe March 20th and 21st.
All
Is
right.
that gonna be on your Twitch channel or through EG,
Um,
or how's that working out?
I am still getting complete details. If not, I'm still gonna, if it's like not like completely done through another channel, it will at the very least be on my channel, which is just temperature on Twitch. So
We'll
Excellent.
make sure to follow up with you and get some of that
mhm.
information so we can help get the word out for you. So now heading into um your next matches coming up tomorrow. Who do y'all got first tomorrow?
We got a team named Aqua.
And this is coming off of a loss recently to Beast Coast. They also have been kind of an up and coming team. Almost it felt like in the same boat as Moon Raccoons there, right? Like y'all two were some unknowns that kind of appeared and really made statement names for yourself. So not like a pushover match by any means. But how are you guys preparing now for tomorrow's match, knowing what's on the line? Um, what changes are you guys making? Not really from a technical perspective, right? But what do you guys really have to improve on to have better outcomes tomorrow?
Um, I'll use the word of connecting with teammates, because something within the game that sometimes is really hard to do is to connect with one another, know what people are doing, acting accordingly, and moving forward, which is communication, teamwork, chemistry, stuff you can't always have from day one. It's something you have to build over time. So we spent more time on those types of things because we're like, okay, we're losing this because of this. We need to work on this. And when we're doing it, everything is amazing. When we're not, it gets a little dicey. So we focus on an aspect that we believe would give us the greatest amount of growth.
And I see for you personally, you have I say a diverse character pool. You play Cypher, it looks like primarily, right? And then you trickle in. I've seen some Sage and Breach and things like that. What are you kind of adapting to the most? Where do you feel like you're best, most comfortable for you as a player right now?
For me right now, um, I'll say Cypher and Sage. The reason I'll say Sage specifically is I used to main Sage in beta and kind of brought it in, and then when like the big Sage nerfs came out, it's like no one wanted you to play Sage anymore, so you
Yeah.
couldn't really get away with it. You couldn't get people to play it, and they would just be like, "Yeah, we're not about it." So that's probably my most comfortable character, and I do end up actually playing one more agent of Sova, which we made that change right after the second VCT because we had just an idea we wanted to go with. Because I am assuming this comes out after, it will probably be shown between now and then. So
Let me ask you this then, from a professional player's opinion, because you mentioned you liked Sage, the nerf came out, and then everyone pretty much said, "Yeah, you're not going to play her anymore." What I guess because we see this in pugs all the time, where people are like, "Well, what do you want?" And in a pug, it's kind of like whatever you're comfortable with. Like, it's more important for you to be comfortable and better with the player than play like force your way into a meta. Do you feel like that's overlooked on the pro level? Like people are too focused on like, well, this team just won this tournament with this meta, so we need to focus on that and try to make it work for us, rather than just say, you know what, you're dominant with Sage, we'll work around you.
um I'll say it's kind of 50-50. So I'll talk more about the tier 2 scene here. Is they'll see Sentinels do this, they're like, oh, we got to do this. Or they'll see TS, like so on and so forth. You can name any team, they're like, they do this, we'll do this. Rather than, oh, this is the idea they're getting at. How can we implement that in our system? How can we make our system work with this type of play? And that's kind of the difference between some of the tier 1, tier 2 teams, is because tier 1 teams are leading the way. Well, tier 2 teams are just looking at them like, I want to do that. That looks cool. And they think it works, but in reality, you never should give up on any type of comp just because a change is made to the character. Like in the case of Sage, nothing was fundamentally changed about the character. You can still do the same things, except with a little bit of restrictions to it. And that's just something some people early on were like, okay, well, these guys are doing this, so why the hell are we doing this? And that was just kind of the way in tier 2 for a while. It's like, we're not playing it because no one else is.
I gotta ask a real question. Do you like playing Cypher? because I would find him to be such a distracting player to play because there's just so much going on with him and so much you're an information provider, right? And so you constantly got to be passing on information and making sure that you're getting it, whether it's through your cameras or putting your trip mines in the right spot. Do you like that, or is that something that you're doing for the team?
Um, I'll say I actually like every character except Reyna. I hate Reyna
Okay.
because lack of creativity. That's the only reason
Yeah.
I'll say it. For Cypher, I actually feel he's one of the more basic characters because you can get it pre-set up. You go over it before, like I just need to do this start of the round. I have all it set and I'm ready to go. You don't need to think. You just have it ready. So like would struggle more in pugs, but in team play, it's actually easier.
Makes sense.
And I do actually like the character because I feel he's one of the few characters that keeps evolving in how you have to play him, how you have to place your trips, what types of cages you can do to do against this. And I think of that like in a very unique way, and I think it's really cool because obviously, can I push it further? Can I do something a little bit different that someone hasn't done yet, or can I bring it back to the old stuff and will it still work and work better than it did before? Because people aren't ready for it now. So that's how I view Cipher, which I find enjoyable personally.
When you were on I'm going to take this a different way than with the same question almost. When you were playing with Moon Raccoons and you were working towards getting a contract with the team, do you feel like it is a negative almost in a sense to play a character? Take Cypher out of the question, right? So just any character that could potentially hurt your ratios, right? Maybe your numbers won't look as good, but you know you're benefiting the team. Does that thought ever cross a player's mind, whether it be you or anybody that you know of, that hey, I don't really want to do this because it's not going to help me get onto a team. This is going to benefit Temperature getting onto a team, you know?
Yeah, that I also definitely say like that is kind of a thought you can have. However, something we all kind of I came to realization, I think everyone on Moon Raccoons is we work as a team and things work because of who is playing. Like Rebo, his stats weren't the greatest, right? You can probably look at them like, why the hell did he get picked up by Ambox? He added so much to the team that was not fragging potential and stuff you could not see from a stream or anything like that. So you have to look at it like if I just look at it from his perspective, like you have to hope people realize, and if people don't, in all honesty, those aren't the people you should be looking at because they don't understand the true value that a player can have without just shooting someone in the face.
Makes perfect sense from that point of view for sure. Well, Temperature, I know we're up against the time, so I want to thank you again for coming on the show. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime down the road, possibly after VCT and all this wraps up. I know you guys, like you said, have a match tomorrow, so we'll let you get any last minute practice. What's the schedule looking like?
We finished practice earlier today, and tomorrow we're just like play the game before, get ready. We have a warm up scrim like an hour before because we're like, oh, we really suck on the first map because we're just not warm and ready as a team. So we're gonna play a practice scrim beforehand, and before that, I'm personally just gonna be playing ranked and just doing my thing until this practice scrim or warm up scrim, I'll call it.
Do you have an off game? Like what do you play outside? Like if you're like, you know what, I have a day off, I want to chill and not think of work. What is it that you're playing?
I mean, I view Valorant because I love the game. That's why I'm able to play it so much and like do whatever with it. So it is kind of really the only game I play. But if it's ever like a time where like, oh, it's after practice, I don't want to touch the game, I'll probably play like Worms or some other game that's just like silly. You can just mess
Mindless
around
fun.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can mess around and don't have to care. And you can play with some friends and some dumb shit's gonna happen and you just laugh and have a great time and no one gets upset. So that is what I tend to try to do more.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, before we let you go, let's get a liner from you. It's almost like an audio signature, if you want to call it that. So it's where you can just state your name, like, hey, this is Temperature with EG or whatever you want to say, and you're listening to the center ring.
This is Evil Genius Temperature, and you are listening to the Center Ring.
Perfect.
Awesome,
What a
bud.
professional. It's like you're a longtime veteran. You would be surprised with how many people struggle with that sentence. But again, definitely appreciate you coming on. Keep me updated in DMs or whatever on your charity stream, and we can definitely promote it on the show and get some listeners in the chat for you, and hopefully bump that number up a little bit. For those interested, you can follow Temperature on Twitter at TemperatureCSGO. We're going to change that?
Got to change something there.
If I'm able to get Temperature as a name, I will definitely change it. Otherwise, I'm kind of debating. I'm like,
You can say it's giving yourself the opportunity to make the switch back in the future. We like that forward thinking. So that's awesome, dude. Wish you all the best in VCT and beyond. We look forward to seeing your many successes, rooting for a team and what you guys are you're putting yourselves out there to make this happen, and it's huge for the scene. It's a beautiful thing to see, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us prior to game day.
all right. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you have a good one.
You
Appreciate
too,
it,
buddy.
man. You too. See ya.